anybody from the census make it here? Awesome. We're going to allow you to start your presentation now if you'd like to come to the podium.
Yeah, sure. It'll be very, very brief.
I heard it was 3 hours long.
I can cut it to that.
Okay, good,
Yes.
good.
I can bring it back to that. My name is Tom Tuckwood, and I'm a partnership specialist with the United States Census Bureau. And I'm happy to be here to speak to you tonight just briefly about the census. I know you all know how important the census is. We're coming up on our 2020 decennial census. This is the 240th. This is the 24th census that the United States has done, and it's so important. It's mandated by the Constitution. We have to do it every 10 years, so we get out and make our best efforts to count everyone once and where they are. And we want to be sure and do that because it has such a profound effect on things like funding for communities and on representation for legislative branches of government for the U.S. legislature and counties and cities, and you all know this, but it's just so important that we do this every 10 years. We partner closely with cities to accomplish the census, and my job and others like me who do the same job are out here to be a resource to the city, to provide information and speaking opportunities when we have a chance to come out and talk to groups, local groups, and kind of guide you through the process and help you make sure that everybody in this area is counted, because it's just so important that we do that. For this census, the 2020 census, we're doing a couple of things that are new. We will have the ability for people to respond to the census online. So there'll be 4 ways to respond: either online, by phone, through the mail, or when somebody comes and knocks on the door. And so we obviously want people to respond online because that's the most efficient, effective way to get the responses. But we will make sure we'll do everything in our power and help you to do everything in your power to make sure everybody has a chance to respond. The census will also go, the forms will also go, it will go out in Spanish and English in those areas that have high communities of Spanish-only speakers. The forms are available in 12 different languages, and assistance for the census is available in 59 different languages. So we're trying to make sure we're making it as easy as possible for everyone to respond to the census. It's really important that I just finally wrap up by talking about security and confidentiality of the information. I'm a sworn employee of the U.S. government. I can't give any information about any individual that I come across or that I have access to, and that's for the rest, forever. I can't do that. So all of us who work for the census take an oath to keep things confidential. The census, by law, is confidential, and individual information cannot be released to any other person or government agency. So we want to make sure people are comfortable filling out their census forms. We also want to make sure that you know that people know there are a lot of job opportunities surrounding the census. We need to hire. I think in Riverside County, we're trying to hire about 9,000 people to do the census, to actually knock on doors or to make phone calls. And so people can get jobs, people can get good jobs at nice pay, just by going on 2020census.gov/jobs. And that's really important. That's a big thrust that we have. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. I'd like to make myself available to you, and I'll make sure that you have resources available to you to help the city of Desert Hot Springs have a successful census this year.
Well, we appreciate you coming out. I know
so
there's
much.
different departments, and I met with another group from the census today. They'll be coming to talk, and they're focused on getting out to the different organizations and groups in our community. She's local here, and they'll be asking for a proclamation in January, which we'll be doing for the census also. How many? I know I met with Jeremy not too long ago, and he was talking to me about the jobs. How many hours are they able to get? And it's not full time; it's part time. Could
Yes.
you address that a little bit?
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. Jeremy's a better one. He has more detailed information about that, but I know the jobs they'll be starting to hire in January. Most of the jobs will be 8 to 12 weeks, and they will be full-time for the most part. Honestly, it depends on how many people self-respond. It depends on how many people respond online and how many people call in by phone or mail in their form. If not very many, if we have a low turnout, then the jobs will be more hours and last longer. So
And it's a pretty good wage. It's not bad. I heard it's around $15 an hour.
it's great money. It's it's great money for a what amounts to a temporary job.
Absolutely.
It's a good deal.
And then if you don't want to be bothered by the census, go online and fill it out. If not, they're knocking on your door multiple times until they get a hold of you. But we want to just make it aware, there's only a few people in the audience, but there's a lot of people watching, and so we'll be able to get the information out. I know the census group's also meeting with Doria, our assistant city manager, and she's going to help connect them to the right people in our community and make this we want our community to be, I think, between 80 and 85% counted. There's a lot of tax revenue that will come back to our community in the future, and that goes for 10 years. So it's very important that you do get counted and understand that this information is protected and not given out. Did I handle that well? Any other questions from the council? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. I think we all know the importance of it, and I want to stress that as well, that we need to count everybody for the federal dollars that we get, but as well as for private stuff. If we top 30,000 like we're expecting to, that's a magic number for a lot of retailers when they're looking to expand, and we all know how much we want retail in this town. So it's very, very important that we count everybody. So to that end, what exactly are you wanting us to do? We can individually start talking about it. We'll start pushing it as much as we can as a city. And when do you start counting so that people can be aware of when to start watching their mailbox or when they can go online? I know there'll be a lot of media on that, but again, we need to start pushing that message.
Well, let me start with your last question about when we start counting. Census Day is April 1st. You shouldn't view that as a hard date like an election day or a holiday. It's just a day we want people to think about when they're filling out their form. People will get their invitations to respond to the census beginning in March. And it'll be staggered. The mailings will be staggered as through the month of March, because we don't want everybody going online all at the same time to respond. But they'll be staggered, and people will get their invitations to respond in March prior to Census Day of April 1st. However, people will be able to complete their census form, and we don't expect to have the counts finished until mid-July. So there's time for people to get their forms in. The requirement, the constitutional requirement, is that the Census Bureau report to the President on December 31st of 2020 with the information gathered from the census. We expect to have the counts done in July. Does that answer?
Yeah, that's great. Now, what about, are you still expecting people to physically count people? I'm thinking of our homeless population, people that don't have telephones, people that are transient, maybe living in an RV or something like that. In the old days, you had squads of people that went out and looked under rocks and did everything. So
we have a plan for that. There are specialists who are focused on group housing, people who are in long-term care facilities or in jail. We have to count everybody. We want to count everyone. People who live here full time in an RV. We want to make sure we count everybody. And the people who are currently unhoused or homeless, we want to make sure that we count them. And yes, there are plans in place to do that, and they include things like going to soup kitchens to count, and on on Census Day or shortly thereafter, a couple of days thereafter, there will be people who, with the Census Bureau enumerators, who will hit the streets, be on the streets, counting people who we miss in the other ways that we have to count them. So that last 5% is a complicated piece to get, but we have plans in place to try to get those for sure.
And people need to be assured that the census folks are not police, they're
Right.
not INS, they're not CPB or any of those. They're merely counting people, and it's very, very important that everybody be counted.
Yes, that's a very good point. We don't report, nobody in the government or otherwise has data to individually recognizable data, personally identifiable information. Nobody has access to that. The most granular the census data gets is at the census tract level. So yeah, and that's where you help with your committees, and you are all the influencers here in Desert Hot Springs, and that's why we need to work with you, because we need you to tell us how to get the message across, and we need you to get that message across for us. We're just resource people.
Hopefully you'll be there to help us do that.
And to all the police officers out there, he said they will count them in jail, so don't leave that as an excuse to get out of getting arrested. If,
That's right.
yeah, if they say, I can't get arrested today, I've got to be counted in the census, that's not an excuse. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, quick question. Now, how many times can you be counted online, one person?
How many times? Yeah, vote early and often. Is that?
Have they
yeah.
figured that one out?
Yeah. So I'm not as smart as the data scientists that we have. I'm not even close to as smart. But I know that they've each, in order to reply online, there's a registration number on the form that people will get, and they'll use that number to put their
So
information
keys,
in.
I gotta get a form first.
You have to get a form.
I got it.
You'll get a mailing. It won't be the form. It'll be a postcard, I
Okay,
believe.
all right.
It'll be a postcard or a letter, but I believe it's going to be a postcard. It'll be the first mailing that invites you to reply, invites you to respond to the census online first, and then there'll be future mailings. Now, one thing the census has done this year, which is different also, is gotten information down from local and state government. So the duplication is an issue that the data people deal with. That they dedupe the responses using information from local, city, state governments, from DMV records, from whatever they can find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you leave your information with the clerk so we can contact you later? I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely, I'm going to leave a
And thank
business
you.
card. And I appreciate your time. If there are no further questions,
Thank you so much.
All
Did
right.
you guys have any? No? You good? All right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next presentation is going to be by our police chief and a swearing in of a officer or officers? An officer, okay. Officers? Oh, officers, nice. I'm going to listen to you one of these days.
Mayor, City Council. Today we're going to introduce you to our two newest officers, but prior to doing that, I just want to thank everyone that's here again. But I want to do a special thanks to someone that's worked for the department for a little while, that's been doing an outstanding job of solving most of our major crimes, and that's Detective Tooth, if you could stand up. He's been doing a great job, and I just want to commend him for that. And for those of you that have been asking, Corporal Hazen, you want to stand up? So this is the motor officer. He still exists. We're going to get him back out there, but I know people wanted to see you, so we'll let him see you without the helmet.
Are you going undercover with the mustache? Ah, I like it.
Okay, I'd first like to introduce Officer Philip Estrada. Before I introduce him, he's got some family members here today. Sylvia Estrada, mother. Philip Estrada Jr., father, Anthony Estrada, brother, Mary Estrada, the grandmother, Philip Estrada Sr., grandfather, Natalie Vargas, grandmother, Paisley Estrada, niece, Jennifer Diaz, family friend, Brianna Diaz, family friend, and Maria Coswell, family friend. So he just has a few people here. Officer Philip Estrada, please welcome new Officer Philip Estrada. Officer Estrada was born in Marietta, California, and currently lives in the city of Lake Elsinore. At the age of 14, Estrada joined the Riverside County Sheriff's Explorer Program, where he was an explorer and station volunteer for 9 years with the Lake Elsinore Police Department. During that time, he obtained the ranks of Explorer Sergeant, Lieutenant, and Captain, where he was a leader to other explorers. While volunteering, Officer Estrada put himself through the Riverside County Sheriff's Department Modular Academy as a self-sponsored recruit. Officer Estrada graduated in the top 5 of his class, placed second in physical fitness, and was given an overall 99.36% in scenarios. Estrada was also the class guidon barrier. After graduating the academy, Officer Estrada worked for a private investigation company and the Placentia Police Department. Next, I'd like to introduce Officer Celia Romero. She has her boyfriend, Dominic Aguirre, her mother, Celia Ramirez, her sister, and I'm going to try this, Eponymia Saucedo, or Epi, the sister, and brother-in-law, Arturo Marcias. Please welcome new police officer Celia Romero. Officer Romero was born in Los Angeles and raised in Calexico, California. Celia joined the Police Explorers in 2001 and graduated from Calexico High in 2004. Celia continued her education at the Imperial Valley College, where she attained her associate's in science with a major in sociology. She was hired with the Calexico Police Department as a public safety dispatcher and remained with the department for 10 years. She obtained her post-training in hostage negotiations, active shooter, and communications training officer. Celia attended the Fresno Police Academy and graduated August of 2017. Celia was sworn in as a reserve police officer with the Calexico Police Department in 2016. She's also recently worked for the Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in 2019. Okay, at this time I'd like to ask Paisley Estrada to come on up. As well as Dominic and Celia, if you could come on up. You gonna help her with that? Okay, at this time they're going to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you, Officer Philip Estrada and Officer Celia Romero, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic? That you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California? That you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion? And that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter. Congratulations.
Okay, I know we got to get out of here, but Officer Estrada, you want to say a few words? words? Yes, you do.
Oh,
Hi, and thank you to everybody who came, family, friends, and members of the department. Thank you.
Officer Romero.
I'm excited for this new opportunity, and I look forward to working with the Desert Hot Springs community. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're in recess till 6 o'clock.
Terry. Can you get Sherman?
Good evening, everybody. We're going to get our meeting started here. I'm going to call to order the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as the successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency Board. This is December 3rd, 2019. This is our 6 p.m. regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts,
Present.
Councilmember Gardner, Councilmember Griffith,
Present.
Councilmember Pye,
Present.
Mayor Manis.
Present. Last meeting of the year, which is tonight, unless a special meeting needs to be called, this is the last meeting of the regular meeting, we select the Mayor Pro Tem for the next year. And after quite a bit of thought and discussion with this individual, I feel that he could fill in very nicely. I would like to nominate and have ratification from the City Council on Robert Griffith as the Mayor Pro Tem for 2020. Any objections?
No objection.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? There is a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking that on, and I think you'll do well. Next item on our agenda is the invocation, and whenever I get some pastors to show up to a council meeting, I always run out to the audience and grab one for the invocation, and Pastor Baylock, you've agreed to do our invocation tonight. Thank you for letting me throw you on the spot like that.
Opportunity to come and to be a part of the city council meeting, the great city of Desert Hot Springs, and to all of the council members who are present here. We pray that everything will be done decently and in order. We ask, Father God, that the vision that this council has for this community will manifest itself in a way that is pleasing in your eyesight. We also ask for the blessings that are those who are here. A special prayer goes out to Officer Henson for his love and commitment and dedication to the armed forces and as well as the police force as well. And so, Lord, we just thank you right now, and we do pray that everything will be done according to your will and according to your purpose. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen again.
Amen. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think Councilmember Betts, it's your turn to lead us.
Please place your hand over your heart and join me in saluting our nation's flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we'll pass it on to the city attorney to report on closed session.
Thank you. We have no reportable action this evening.
Thank you very much. Our next will be the approval of the agenda. Would anybody like to pull anything from the consent calendar? If not, we'll approve the agenda in whole and the consent calendar in whole. Would anybody like to speak on any items on the consent calendar? I see nobody coming forth.
You're on consent?
I am.
So item, I believe it's 23, I'm going to just continue in my opposition on that item is all.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll vote for consent.
So approve the consent calendar in whole, noting that Mr. Betts will be putting opposition on number 23. Again, anyone would like to speak on any consent items, this would be the time to speak on those. If not, they're going to be approved in whole at this time. Okay, let me make a motion. There's a motion and a second, and Mr. City Clerk, you got the objection to 23. Okay, awesome. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Next item will be public comments. This time pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain professional, courteous decorum during public comments. If you're here and there's an item on an agenda that you're going to speak to, you don't need to fill out a blue card. We'll call you up during that item. If you're here on general purpose and just want to speak to us, blue cards are in the back there, and we'll get those out there. I have a Cindy Connor.
Hello, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Cindy Connor. I live here in Desert Hot Springs, have since 2013. I work for a company. We give away free phones, and recently there have been ordinances changed. I had gotten a permit to be a street vendor, and mine is specific to across the street from the welfare office. And a week or a week and a half ago, those ordinances were changed. We could not be in any place across or adjacent from residential or from a school, and nowhere in the safety corridor. And this is not in the permit. This is not specified in the permit that I got from the city of Desert Hot Springs. None of that's in here. And I feel like I wasn't notified of any changes, or that there were, or anyone in our companies, none of them were notified of these ordinances being changed. And I feel like it's really affecting me in my livelihood, because since I've been where you guys have pretty much said is okay, which is right across the street from the fire department, police department, that's really the only place that I can think of that has any kind of traffic, and is not going to get me a citation, you know. And I definitely have suffered in the amount of activity that I have during the day, and that affects my commission. So I'm here to ask maybe for me to have my available spot by the welfare department until my permit is up.
During public comments, we can't have a back and forth by law, so we are allowed to make your comments, and what we can do is we
Okay.
can get your information to staff, and a staff member can meet you to the side to get you more information on what you can do to appeal or
Okay.
talk.
Okay, great. Thank you so much
You're
for
so
listening.
welcome. Thank you for taking the time tonight.
Okay,
Our
great.
next speaker is Elder Crystal Baylark.
Good evening. I'm just here this evening to invite the city of Desert Hot Springs to a town hall meeting that we plan on having at First Community Baptist Church. The MLK Martin Luther King weekend, it will be on a Saturday. We have several topics that we'd like to pose. I want to thank Jan Pye, Mayor Pro Tem, for accepting an invitation, as well as Chief Jim Henson. We have several topics that we'd like to bring forth. One particular is elderly protection. We notice the lighting is really bad on the streets. Business red tape, these are just a few. School violence, law enforcement, and much more. But we just want to invite all, whether it's the audience or the city council, to our town hall meeting. I heard there has not been one in Desert Hot Springs for many years, 5 that I heard of, and we wanted to invite you, so I'm going to put the flyers in the back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Chuck Parker, followed by Bob Terry.
Hi, it's good to see you again. Good to be back in Desert Hot Springs. My daughter and my grandkids still live in my house up on Club Circle Drive, so I'm up here quite a bit, trimming the trees and stuff. But I wanted to thank you, first of all, for your support. It's been almost a year ago, 11 months ago, Desert Hot Springs was the first city to pass a resolution in support of importing ocean water to the Salton Sea. And since that time, our campaign has been very successful. We've gotten eight of the 9 cities so far, and next week on Wednesday, the city of Coachella is planning to vote to support it, so it's unanimous. and we also have resolutions from the College of the Desert Board of Trustees and the Torres Martinez tribe down in Thermal. We're here tonight to ask you for another gesture of support. I want to read this letter. I gave you a packet of information. This is an appeal for support to the Coachella Valley City Councils. The Salton Sea Coalition is appealing to the members of the city councils in the Coachella Valley to write letters of support for the recent declarations of emergency for air and water pollution at the Salton Sea by Imperial County. The pollution near the Salton Sea is making people sick, and the county has determined that they do not have the resources to tackle the problem by themselves. They also hope that the emergency declarations, if endorsed by the governor, will help to streamline the cumbersome permitting process that has delayed any progress on the projects of the state's 10-year plan. The Salton Sea Authority will be voting on this at their next meeting on Thursday, December 9th at 10 a.m. 19th, I'm sorry. At their last meeting in November, the representatives from Imperial County appealed for support for their emergency proclamations. Supervisor Manuel Perez of Riverside County refused, so did Castillo Estrada of the CVWD, Coachella Valley Water District. However, the representatives of the Torres Martinez tribe expressed their support for both the emergency proclamations and for ocean water import. Because the board was split, the vote was postponed until December 19th. Since time is short before this meeting and councils may not have time to vote for an official letter from the council, we're asking individual members of this city councils to write letters until it can be considered by their council. We have included a sample letter in this packet. We also urge you to attend the next meeting of the Salton Sea Authority on December 19th, Thursday, at 10 a.m. at the offices of the Coachella Valley Water District, 75515 Hoveley Lane, Palm Desert, and speak out in support of action at the Salton Sea. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Bob Terry?
Good evening, council, staff, city residents. Chuck said it all. The only thing I can add is my commendations to this city for being the one that stood up first, stood up to the supervisor and asked for seawater import. Every other city so far has followed your lead. I want to thank Desert Hot Springs for taking that lead. The Torres Martinez, just a couple of weeks ago, did their resolution, and that is big. We're already getting some positive feedback from the state for the first time in 30 years about seawater import. So we're making progress. This emergency declarations are important to end the stagnation that's going on at the Salton Sea. And it's been called for by Imperial County, and we're asking for Coachella Valley resident cities, councils to stand behind them. Again, our supervisor doesn't want it to happen. He's stopping the Salton Sea Authority, or trying to, from supporting it, even though the Torres Martinez is the chairman of Torres Martinez is the chairman of the Salton Sea Authority now. So this is where our battle is right now, and we're asking once again for your support. And again, thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, Bob. Dr. Stampley?
Hello.
You can pull that down if you need to. There
Hi.
you go.
To the mayor and to all the council members, I'm delighted to be here. I've lived here for 5 years. This is the first time I came to this mic. And that's because my pastor is here and his wife is here, and that's moral support. I'm here with a brief invitation, First Community Baptist Church over there on First and Cactus. We are having a contest. Actually, it's a essay contest. We have invited children from our high school in the area, elementary school, and they are going to write an essay, what they think of Martin Luther King's ideas, especially loving your neighbor. I think we would be astonished if we would listen to our children and find out what's on their mind. They're smarter than we think they are. We would like for you to join us. We have prizes and wonderful things to give to these children after the essay, and it will be approved and checked by the librarian. It's going to be on Monday. It's going to be January. It's a new year. It's the 20th day at 2020. Please arrive at 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker card tonight is Melanie Lyons of the Senior Center. If there's anyone else that would like to speak, this is your final call.
Hi. My name is Melanie Lyons. I'm the director of the Senior Center, and I came here today to invite you and any other senior that's over the age of 50 to come to our annual holiday party that we're having on December 20th at 12:30 p.m. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have Santa and some really great raffle prizes that have been donated through the community, and a performance from Storyland Preschool. So, and our own choir, the Rocking Chair Singers. So please try to make it if you can. I know it's a Friday and it's an off day, but you all are invited. And of course, anyone in the community that's over the age of 50 is also invited as well.
Well, we're never off. We're always working, so we don't get the day off like staff members.
So
right,
come. Come
We
join
could
us. We're
force
going to have a
them-
lot of food.
We could force them to be on that
Council's
day.
a 365-day-year job, sir.
Okay, Melanie, can you make sure you give those dates to the city clerk so they get us put it on our calendars?
I will. Okay.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you for everything you do. Anyone else would like to speak in public comments? You can come forth. Go ahead and come forth. You can hand in the blue card afterwards. Just state your name. I'm sorry. Wait for the mic. You got to do it on the mic, or I get yelled at by the clerk.
Chandra Garin. I was just coming today because I am complaining about the traffic in the middle school. It's really bad where I live at. I live on Lewis Drive. We need to have like another crossing guard there because I honestly went in the office yesterday to let them know that the traffic over there is really bad and the students don't even push the button that's there. So I did it and I showed them, this is how you walk. Push the button. That's where it's for. Instead, they're on their phone walking and two of the kids almost got hit. That's why I'm like, this is why we need to have a crossing guard there.
And you're talking about the middle school,
Yes.
Desert Springs Middle School.
Yes, that one is very bad, and I live in that area, and it's so hard to get through because the kids don't push the button, the parents aren't paying attention, so I'm like, you know what, I need to just go in and tell myself that this is like ridiculous. Two kids almost got hit right in front of me, so I pulled to the side and went in the office and told them. So I was just wondering if there's any possible way of hiring another crossing guard there, or putting someone there.
We can't have it back and forth, but what we can do is if you can get with the city clerks, they'll get your information. We'll get some of those answers for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Yeah, you can get that over to the city clerk. Anyone else who would like to speak in public comments? Final call? All right, we're going to close public comments this time, and we're going to move on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As usual, I want to get an update from Danny on Palm Drive and the process going on there. You'll see that they've started grinding on Palm Drive. Also, Danny, if you could give an update on the lights at Kmart parking lot, that'd be great.
Thank you. The Palm Drive project, the milling of the asphalt began this week. It would actually continue all the way till Friday. We do have a rainy day tomorrow, which will stop some operations, but we will continue up until Friday. On Thursday, we're actually begin some crack seal and some repair, which will continue on to next week. And then the following week, which is the week of December 16, you will see the repaving and then the restriping. During that time, they're still pulling fiber on the west side of Palm Drive, and they will also be removing those poles, the utility poles for low voltage. The street lights are coming in on the week of December 16th, the brand new street lights. We have 34 street lights coming in. Those will be installed from December 16th all the way to the end of the year. And then in January, they will be energized. That's a SCE project, but it is a part of our project as well. Just to inform everybody too, we had a very old project that is finally going into construction, the 8th Street Storm Drain. So on 8th Street, between Mesquite all the way to West Drive, the hauling began last week. It will continue this week, and actual construction will begin the week of December 16th. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and call us, but Riverside County is working with the city on that project. The Kmart lights, parking lights, they recently changed ownership. We were able to track down a regional manager who is in charge of this area, and they have contacted somebody who knows how to use the lights in the building, and they're expected to come tomorrow to turn on the parking lights. It was an error on their part. They thought they had the lights on, and until we notified them, they were able to realize that they left them off. Even the entryway actually lights were on their building, but they are planning on turning them back on this week. And just another one, Blockwall Senior Center. That one, the contract's have been awarded, and we will be construction will be beginning December 16th as well. So there's a lot of projects starting that week, but we will see the block wall starting right behind this building. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. And also our Assistant City Manager, Dory Wilms, has an exciting new announcement.
So I am excited to announce that the city has hired our Economic Development Manager, who happens to be here tonight. She's in the back there. That is Denise Hammett. So she is officially on board. We're working on setting some priorities and getting her out there to hit the ground running. So by the time we come back after going dark for the holidays, we should be well on our way to getting her implementing that plan. So I just want to make sure everyone knows who she is, and we're looking forward to having her here in the community with us.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. City Manager, I have one thing. Roberta, would you be able to just give a quick update on the holiday parade and the route?
Yes. So just a reminder, our parade is on Saturday, December 14th, starting at Mission Lakes and going to end at First Street, and then immediately following the parade, the parade starts at 5:45 p.m. So we recommend the community arrive about an hour and a half before the parade so they can get, a place to sit down along the parade route. And immediately following will be our holiday festival. Lots of food vendors in and out, lots of carnival rides free to the community, free pictures with Santa, free coffee, hot chocolate, and face painting. So a lot of fun.
And In-N-Out's not free.
In-N-Out,
No.
food is not free.
Mr. Betts, you had a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. I noticed that we've been doing a lot of grading along the roads, on the sides of the roads. And I thought it looked nice because we'd had a whole bunch of weeds growing over the roads. Is that just as it appears, just to tidy up the roads and make them look nicer? Or is that in advance of some other project?
Yeah, it's just a project we have citywide. We've been wanting to do it for quite some time, and we're able to use one AQMD money and actual NPDS money, which is for storm drain. So instead of doing after the storm, we're trying to beat the storm, so we do have a little bit less runoff on there, and we're trying to do some weed abatement as well for site visibility. So yeah, we are doing the main arterials, Palm, Indian, Little Morongo, Dillon, Pearson, and Mission Lakes. So you do see that, and that's just a clearing and grubbing and clearing the shoulders for safety as well.
Okay, I just want to tell you, I saw that going on. It was so welcome, and I'd heard from so many residents over the years that needed to get done, so it's just really nice to see that. So I just want to get clarification on that, so it's just as it appears, just getting the shoulders cleaned up. Good job.
All right, we'll move on to mayor and council member comments. Who wants to go first tonight? Mr. Betts?
Might as well keep going, huh? Stopped by the senior center. I had no meetings, so I got nothing to report on as far as meetings go. So I'll just tell you what I've been doing. I stopped in at the senior center, and things are really going there. I think everybody seemed to be pretty good spirits, real happy about things. Melanie's doing a great job down there. So if you have, I'm going to bring my mom down there. So she needs to get out and see some people. So just really nice to see the job you're doing there. I had a question regarding Erica. That's been in the news, and I understood that Erica is the emergency, I can't pronounce, what is it, Scott?
Eastern Riverside County Interoperable Communication Authority.
Good job. I knew. Thought I was putting you on the spot. So we had voted, I think, as a council to be a part of releasing that radio transmissions to the media. Can we just get a quick update of where that stands? Is that something we can?
Sure. I gave an update last meeting. I'll give one this meeting. Sure.
Okay, that'd be great. I'd appreciate that. There's been so many questions come up that I thought it'd be good to get that out there again. They must have missed our last meeting, huh? Tedesco Park. Had some calls about Tedesco Park and people feeling like, well, the kids are being a little rowdy and disrespectful. And I understand through talking through the city manager today that we've got a plan of attack on that one to try and get that sorted out. I know that that's been a problem over the years, and we seem to get it tamped down, and then it comes back. So just for the people out there and, you know, the audience who are wondering what was going on there, it hasn't escaped our attention. Thanks for all the calls that came in. I did have somebody that contacted me, and they mentioned the park seemed a little dark. So I asked them, hey, would you mind going and counting how many lights there are that are out and not working at that park? And they just texted me not long ago and said there's 26 lights at that park. So that would probably explain why it's dark. Can we get those light bulbs put in the...
Well, I wish Nick was here. He just walked out the door, but understood that we already addressed that issue, and we have replaced them. Do you know, Danny?
No, I'm not sure. We can look into it.
Our Public Works manager isn't here. I could answer that question for
Okay,
you.
now
But this
it may
this
be-
came up like a month ago or so.
Yeah, it may be that the, you know, the times, since the times change, it's getting dark at 4:30. Maybe there's a timer that needs to be changed because they did count them. So maybe we'll double check that. But anyhow, if we could get that taken care of, I think a well-lit park down there would help. And certainly appreciate staff's efforts on that. That may be it, the time change. You know, a couple other things coming up if you do some reading and watch the pension crisis going on in California, and you're going to see that, you know, for a lot of cities, it's just gobbling up huge amounts of their cash. And we're going to get an audit report later in the evening. Hope people stick around for that. That shows some really good news here in our city. But it's something that everybody needs to be aware of in this state is that public employee pensions are gobbling up some cities' available revenue. The city of Turlock is just about broke. They've had to lay off out of 80 officers. They're now down to 40 because the cost of paying retirement benefits is exceeding their ability to pay for new officers. And you've got some cities that are actually paying more in payroll than what their payroll for a pension. Their pension payments exceed what they're paying for all of their payroll. And it's a problem that just keeps growing. And it's going to hit us at some point in time because CalPERS is going to crash. It just there's no way to avoid it. The numbers don't add up. So I think if you watch, we're in good shape, better than many other cities. But it's something that we're going to have to address as a council at some point in time. And when do we come up for the next round of budgets? That's this spring? We're going to start that? We did the 2-year cycle.
Correct. We're in the first year of the 2-year cycle.
Okay, so maybe we'll just take a look at that when that one comes up. You know, some questions that people are asking, how do you report things to, if you see a problem on code, and I guess we have a new website app, a page for reporting. So I thought I'd just give that a try, and it works really well. Got a response back. It happened to be somebody had complained to me about an abandoned car that was sitting out in front of their house and had been there for a while. And so I said, well, you know, you could just call and report it, but I'll go ahead and do it for you. And sure enough, the car was abated and the problem was solved. So a lot of people out there like to, you know, they think they're complaining. You know, maybe we missed something, we didn't get something done, but it really helps to have that input come in from the community. If you see something, you see something that doesn't look right, call. This is a team effort here, and as much as we like to think we're on every road and in every street, you live there, you see it way more than we do. So just call and complain. Complaints are good. Talked about that. And I'm just going to wrap this up by, you know, we had a presentation by Chuck Parker and Bob Terry on the Salton Sea. And just let everybody know, when you see somebody come up to the podium, they're not getting paid. That's all volunteer work they're doing here. It's very important work that they're doing. They put in a lot of time and effort. So if you see somebody doing something like that, support them, tell them thanks. There's a huge problem down there, and they're probably, from the sounds of it, going to end up being a big part of the solution. Now, I heard we had a Christmas party coming up next weekend, is that? A Christmas party?
Christmas parade?
Well, it's a party, right? 14th. Huh? The 14th.
Call it a party, a parade, whatever you like.
Okay, well, it's carnival. Festival.
We're going with festival.
And parade. Festival and parade. And everybody should turn out. The last year it was just packed. It was a fabulous time. I'm guessing it's going to be as good as last year. Better.
In-N-Out's going to be there. Of course it is.
And In-N-Out's going to be there. And I'd like to remind everybody, if you'd like to have an In-N-Out in our city, when you walk up to the In-N-Out booth, you can say, wow, I'm sure glad you're here. I welcome. Please come back. And kind of like overwhelm them with love. And maybe we can get a little return favor. I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. This is our last meeting before the holidays, and hope everybody's doing well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Pye.
Tell me the Economic Development Director's name again.
The Economic Development Manager's name is Denise Hammett.
Okay. Denise, I heard that you did a lot of study on us before you came out, and I appreciate that, and you know that we're worthy, and that's good. And I also want to say that there is currently a budget item for her. About 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I'm sorry, Ms. Baylock, I just wanted to give you an answer because of what you said. We haven't done a town hall in a while. We did do one. It was about 3 years ago, and it was with the police. I particularly went because I wanted to know what the community thought about the police. And I was presently surprised because the people that were there were thanking the police particularly for saving their children. And it was a good meeting. There was more than just saving the children. It was people who had problems with criminals, and the police had helped them. So I just wanted you to know it's been more recent than that. The CVAG Homeless Committee is basically focused on homeless. Yesterday at the CVAG Executive Committee, they supported us going with Path of Life from January 1 to December 30th. And what Path of Life is doing is finding housing for people. But what's different, usually vendors are in their own silos and they don't exactly collaborate. And that's something that's going to have to happen differently. And so they are part of Path of Life's responsibility is to collaborate with people. So that was approved, and that's phase one. And we did put out RFPs for people to do stuff for homeless. But we found that, as I said, people do specific things, but not everything that we need to get people in housing and with wraparound services. So that's phase two, and we are going to work on that. We give $100,000 a year to CVAG to operate on homeless. And the reason why I'm saying that is because our last ad hoc committee meeting, I told them do not depend on the city to give you money. And I said that for several reasons. Some of it's political. You don't know who's going to be here next year. And anything we do must be sustainable. And so we give to CVAG, and CVAG is it's also in cooperation with the Desert Healthcare District. It's also in cooperation with the county, and they can do more than we can as a city. So that is why I tell them that. So far, we have people who have developed their nonprofits. There are people. There's one guy who's doing a lot of homework for what he wants to do for partners, to give people a second chance, and we're working on that also. We're trying to get another navigation center in Desert Hot Springs. That may not happen till March. But for me, the cooling center wasn't enough. We still need to help people. And so I think that's it.
Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I only have one external meeting to report on. The Greater Palm Springs Convention and Visitors Bureau, where I serve on the JPA board, the mayor and I had a chance to make a presentation on the Sand to Snow National Monument. It was very well received. We're grateful for the support from the CVB and the other organizations that are giving to our efforts to obtain the park headquarters and visitor center for that. And during that meeting, we had some very interesting tourism updates from that were given to us from some statistics. The number one source of visitors to the Coachella Valley, anyone take a hazard to guess? Seattle. But no surprise there.
You brought them here.
Yeah. I did. It's my fault. The number of airline seats we have next year is trending lower because of the issues with the 737 MAX, but we're still on track to be the second biggest tourism year in Valley history next year. Even more surprising, tourism is up year-round, which bodes really well for us. The gap between the number of winter visitors and summer visitors is shrinking. Bodes well for DHS and our boutique hotels and access to outdoor recreation, which is the biggest summer draw. Councilmember Pai touched on it a little bit with the homeless issues, but over the Thanksgiving weekend, one of the things that I like the most about our city, about Desert Hot Springs, and why I'm very thankful to live here, is that the people who live here really take the initiative and look out for each other. I was very touched to see how many people banded together outside of the usual advocacy organizations, outside of the usual churches and others, to feed and drop off warm clothes for those less fortunate than us in this past week. It was amazing. I counted at least 7 or 8 individuals taking individual initiatives and rounding up neighbors and going off to do things. And it's not just over the holiday season. I've seen that effort year-round here, and it makes me very proud to live in this city. And since this is our last council meeting for the year, I wanted to wish everyone a joyous and wonderful holiday season. I'll be headed up to see my family in Salt Lake City, and I'll leave you with the words from an old John Denver song. May peace and joy fill up your time. May brotherhood surround you. May you know the warmth of love and wrap it all around you. We'll see everybody at the parade on the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Mr. Griffith?
This will probably be shorter than I usually am. I had no external meetings, which was kind of nice. I got a break for a couple weeks. Just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and don't drink and drive. Drive safe. I know it's a time of celebration, but be smart.
And I'll wrap it up with a couple meetings that I did have. As Mr. Betts requested, another report on the Erica. As some of you that have been following our radio system, we are one of 4 other cities that participated in purchasing our own radio system for our emergency services. This took place many years ago when the county and all the radio systems were being upgraded. We felt we would save money in the long run by having our own radio system. So we set on a JPA with Indio, Castillo City, Palm Springs, and Beaumont for this radio system. Most recently, about a year ago, with the upgrades to our system and being encrypted, the state has policies to release information. If it's in a encrypted system, you're not supposed to have access to it except for the emergency services. With that said, the media that had radios were turned off at one point, and they had pleaded to be turned back on with MOUs and contracts signed and so forth. Went through this exercise multiple times. They were denied the first time. They came back once the committee was reappointed at the last election and asked one last time that they be turned back on. The City of Desert Hot Springs City Council, in closed session, which was reported out, had voted to allow access along with the city of Indio and Palm Springs. The cities of Cathedral City and Beaumont did not. What does this mean with the JPA? This means that we individually control our radios. We can release the information, which is basically the media being able to have access to, if there's major emergencies, to be able to notify you, the public, and that's kind of the way I think the majority of our council thought to release it. The issues that we have is that we contract with Cathedral City Police Department for our dispatch system. So they are working through the technical portions of it to see how they could do this, since Cathedral City is not going to release their information. With that said, we'll give more of an update as time goes on, but that's where we stand. At this time, there was a caveat to Palm Springs vote that they had invited the Attorney General to come in and give a recommendation on his opinion, which was going to happen, Jim, do you remember? It was the 19th, was it 16th of December?
Yeah, I believe they weren't sure on the date because of the Attorney General, but it was mid-December.
Mid-December. And they were going to ask the questions and get back to Erica on his ruling to notify our councils that if there was anything up and beyond the legal opinions that we had already received, that was important for us to know. So I hope that gives you enough information. As Mr. Gardner said, I was asked to give a presentation with him at the CVB on the Sand and Snow. It went really well, and we'll be continuing that show down the road here as time goes on and we look for support on the Sand and Snow here in Desert Hot Springs. Also attended Riverside County Transportation, 2 committee meetings, Budget and Implementation, Audit Committee, nothing pertaining directly to Desert Hot Springs, so I won't bore you with the details on that. I was asked to sit on a panel or have a lunch with 4 other council members and a mayor with the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. They do a piece each year for their magazine. It's the VOB, which is a Voice of Business, and they rotate different members of, or different elected officials through this each year and ask their opinions on some of the things facing the valley for an article in their magazine. So I was honored to do that. Last night also attended the Coachella Valley Association of Governments Executive Committee. As Mayor Pro Tem Pai announced, the CV housing was the main discussion last night. The recommendation from the Homeless Committee was to recommend that Path of Life Ministries continue with their purpose, which is to bring homelessness down. Now this gets a little political because that's a lot of money that's been given. There's some cities that do participate and some that don't. A lot of the Eastern Valley cities don't participate with the CVAG regional on this because of the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission and Martha's Village being so close to their cities. But we did have a alternative motion made to, Chuck, I don't remember exactly. It was something to add an extra piece to auditing the finances.
That's correct. They wanted to give them a 6-month trial period. They'll vote in for the year, but they want to give them a 6-month trial period to see what their performance was going to be this time.
And the 2 members of CVAG that are staff members, it was said that would be great if the city of Indian Wells would join in and pay the $100,000 as other cities are. Indian Wells said that they would take it back to their council if we made that motion, amended the motion. So basically every recommendation from the committee was approved, plus the amendment to that. So we'll be moving forward. There are some concerns with Path of Life Ministries, but as Mayor Pro Tem alluded to, not every RFP that came in was able to do everything the committee wanted, and they've picked the best, and I wanted to commend her, and she sat on the panel that reviewed the RFPs, and there was 4 of them, and 8 of you that reviewed them.
Oh, no.
No, there was 4 of you that reviewed them, right?
Right.
8 applications, right? Yeah, 8 applications, or RFPs, and they came up with the best one that they thought would do the best for our valley here, so we'll be asking for more from the Coachella Valley Association of Governments to make sure that we're getting the best that we can here in Desert Hot Springs from that organization. Sunline, there was an item discussed about Sunline appointee from the Coachella Valley Association of Governments. Right now, ex officio from Sunline sits on the transportation, which is the executive director, and they're asking now to have CVAG sit on their board as an ex officio so that it basically has somebody there to be able to see what's going on transportation-wise so Sunline can receive. When they're trying to reach out for more money, they don't have to they can be heard at their meetings about that. So that was approved. There will be an appointee by CVAG in the near future with the MOU and an agreement from Sunline Board of Directors.
Which has to be taken up by the Sunline Board and approved, right?
Didn't I just say that?
I didn't know. I didn't.
I might have been speaking too fast.
My ears were
Yeah.
perked up because I'm
I
on
might
the
have been
board,
tailing
sorry.
off at the end there, but it has to go to the Board of Directors.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, sorry.
No worries. Signal signalization was also on there. They've gotten as far as agreeing that out of all the companies in the Coachella Valley that have these controllers in the signals, that they will be going out for one controller that will be able to be utilized by one control center across the valley, except for the city of Rancho Mirage that will be doing their own thing. And then lastly, at the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, the Torres Martinez tribe asked for re-entry into the Coachella Valley Association of Governments. So if you don't know much about that, it's a JPA of all 9 cities in the Coachella Valley, 9 cities and Blythe, plus Blythe. And then any tribals that want to join it, Agua Caliente is a member, and then now Torres Martinez tribe had been not participating for, I believe, 2 years, and they were voted back in to participate, so they'll be participating in the Coachella Valley Association of Governments now. I had a meeting today with Judith Holman. She is the U.S. Census Partnership Specialist. As we saw tonight at presentations, the U.S. Census is out in force. There's multiple different departments that we'll be hearing from over the next couple months. But again, if you weren't here for the presentation, 4 options to be counted in the census, which starts April 1st of 2020, is you'll receive a postcard that you can go online and do all your information, and you don't have to be bugged at your door or by mail anymore by the census, or they'll come to your door, or by mail they'll send you the information. And the 4th was, what am I missing? There were 4 ways. There was in person, by mail, internet, phone. Thank you. By phone, they'll call you and get your information from you. So it's important, and the reason we're going to push so hard on this next couple months is that we will receive funding in the future based on the population of our community. So there is billions of dollars out there from federal government, and sometimes it's split on your population or the groups of your population. So it's very important to be counted. Just please don't ignore this census. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. However you celebrate, please be safe. We have a holiday festival on the 14th to celebrate with you, our community. I hope you join us. This will be our last meeting of this year. We will come back in January, the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and we will start a new year. So Happy New Year if we don't speak before that. Now to business. Public hearing. Our first item on the agenda tonight is an application for implementation of the Tuscan Hills Specific Plan and Master Plan Residential Subdivision and proposed 334-room resort hotel and spa located on the vacant 554-acre property located along the north side of Pearson Boulevard, east of Foxdale Drive. And I believe, Mr. Griffith, you're going to say something, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I am going to recuse myself. I voted on this on the Planning Commission.
Thank you very much. As he exits the dais, and once he's off the dais, Ms. Deming, it is all yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We are further working with the applicant on updating this project, as well as they have requested to continue it off calendar, as they'd like to bring this back to council with their development agreement. So the public hearing is open, so we're recommending you take any testimony for anyone who would like to speak and continue this off calendar to a date uncertain. We will re-advertise when it is ready to come back to you. Thank you.
So at this time, that's your staff report. We'll entertain any questions of staff. Would there be any questions of staff before I open the public hearing?
Question of the mayor.
Sure.
If somebody wants to speak now and during the public hearing, will they be able to speak again after the new information comes out?
I think by law we'll have to allow it. We'll open the public hearing. It will remain open, and we'll have to go back to the opening of the public hearing and give anybody opportunity to give testimony before we close the public hearing in the future, correct?
Correct. The entire item is actually going to come back to you as a noticed public hearing. We're just continuing to working with the applicant, but yet we could take testimony now, and then when this project does in fact come back, it'll be a noticed public hearing.
Any other questions for staff? At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to give testimony? Is the applicant here? I don't think they are. No. Is there anybody who would like to give testimony in favor, opposed, or just want to say a few words about this project? Sure. I couldn't hear you. You're going to have to come to the mic. The city clerk wants to make sure he records everything. State your name and then ask your question.
My name is Chandra Garin. I was just wondering, what is this first project about?
This is a public hearing on this Tuscan Hills project, which is located on the east side of the city on Pearson, and it is for their residential project that they'll be bringing forth, which is a specific plan, and they're asking for continuance at this time.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other testimony in this? All right, we'll keep the public hearing open. I'll entertain a motion to continue to unspecific date.
No specific date?
She said for, Ms. Deming asked for an unspecific date at this time.
That's correct. It is date uncertain. We will re-advertise it when we know what date it's ready to come
Okay,
back.
a motion to continue to a date uncertain with the requirement that staff will re-advertise the public hearing.
Which button? There is a motion and there's a second. Any more discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, we call Mr. Griffith back in. Move on to item number 6, was the annexation number 37 to the City of Desert Hot Springs Community Facilities District number 2010-1 services for APN 665-110-006, located east of Little Morongo Road and north of Dillon Road. Mr. Buckheim?
Yes, thank you. Staff requests to continue this to January 21st to give the property owner additional time to receive, review, and submit the ballots.
That means we have not received his ballot at this time.
No, we have not.
All right. Can I get a motion to continue? Any questions? Would anybody like to make comment on this item before we vote? Please vote. I'm sorry, Mr. Betts, were you in the queue?
That's okay.
Okay.
Mr. Gardner beat me to it.
Councilmember Betts.
Mr. Betts?
I thought I did, I'm sorry.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 7 is creating Special Tax Area 43 and for APN 665-110-006, located north of Dillon Road and east of Little Morongo Road within the Desert Hot Springs Special Public Safety Tax Area. Mr. Buckheim?
We also request to continue this to January 21st as well, since we did not receive the ballots.
Anyone would like to speak and comment on this item? I see none. I'll take a motion. I'll receive a motion. There's a motion and a second to continue. Any other comments? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 8 is the Ortega Drive vacation. This will be staff report by Mr. Porras.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. On October 23rd, 2019, city staff received a request for the city to vacate Ortega Drive, located between Eliseo Road and Aguaquinta Road. Staff completed an inspection and found the street to be closed from vehicular access on both sides with temporary barricades. And based on the overgrown weeds and debris, the street segment showed signs that it had not been used for public access in years. If vacated, the use of the easement in favor of the city for public right-of-way purposes across the parcels on both sides of the street would be lifted, and the area of the former street would then be able to be used for future development, subject to any public utility easement and any conditions imposed by the city at that time. In order for the street to be vacated, it must complete the following steps. Some of these steps have been completed, and some of their steps will be completed today. The first step is City Council needs to adopt a resolution of intent to vacate the street and set a public hearing for City Council to consider the vacation. On November 5th, 2019, City Council adopted a resolution of intent, setting the public hearing time and date for 6 p.m. on December 3rd, 2019 at the Carl May Center, 11711 West Drive, Desert Hot Springs, California. The second step was the city clerk must notice the public hearing in accordance with Section 8320 of the Streets and Highways Code. The city clerk published a notice of vacation in the Desert Star Weekly on Friday, November 15th, 2019, and on Friday, November 22nd, 2019. The third step was pursuant to the resolution. The city engineer or designee must also post streets with the notice of vacation according to the Streets and Highways Code, Section 8323. On November 14th, 2019, the Public Works Inspector posted a notice of vacation on both ends of the street and one in the middle, as shown in Exhibit 4. The fourth step, after resolution is adopted, the Planning Commission shall make a recommendation to the City Council on whether or not the location, purpose, and extent of the proposed street vacation is in conformance with the general plan. On November 12, 2019, the Planning Commission adopted a resolution finding that the vacation of Ortega Street is consistent with the general plan and is also shown in Exhibit 5. The fifth step is the City Council must conduct a public hearing on the vacation. After the hearing, City Council may adopt a resolution vacating the street and or may instruct the City Clerk not to record the resolution of vacation until conditions have been met. This is the purpose of tonight's item and resolution. And the final step would be after the City Clerk causes, this would be followed in the attached resolution if adopted by a City Council. If the street is vacated and the resolution is adopted, the City Council will direct the City Clerk to record the adopted resolution. Staff recommends the City Council adopt a resolution of the City Council of Desert Hot Springs approving the vacation of Ortega Drive for public roadway purposes, drain located between Eliseo Road and Aguaquendo Road, and reserving of easements of public utilities. That concludes my staff report. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain questions of staff. Mr. Betts?
So is this the final time this will come to us, or is it going to come to us again?
This is the final time.
Okay, so if there's any conditions that staff was going to place on it, this would be the time, or if the council had any in their mind, correct?
This is the city is actually moving forward. City is the applicant. So yeah, the conditions would be for the city to do them.
Okay, did you place any conditions on?
There are no conditions. No.
You didn't put any conditions on them for the vacating of this?
The city is the applicant, so we're processing it. The city, as the applicant, we're processing it. If future development would come on board, then the future development would have additional conditions at that point.
Okay, all right, but whenever it's time for discussion, I'll weigh in.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing, and I'll take any testimony in favor. Ms. Lees, are you in favor of this?
Good evening. My name is Maria Lees, and I am in escrow to purchase the property north of Ortega Drive and also south of Ortega Drive. My intention is to develop the southern lots into a beautiful day spa oasis. It's going to take time, it's going to take money, but I'm going to work as hard as I can to produce a beautiful property for Desert Hot Springs that's going to draw many visitors here. Right now, I'm hoping that we're going to close by the end of the year, and of course having this street vacated by the city is crucial to that closing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in favor of this project? Anyone like to speak in opposed to this project? Is anybody in neutral position who would just like to make comments about this project? All right, at this time, I'm going to close the, yes, ma'am, you may. Come forward, state your name, and you can make your comments.
My name is Chandra Garan. I was just curious about the vacation. I'm not really sure if I'm okay with that because I feel like it might get worse, the crime rate, because of having vacation homes there. You know how they have like party there, and also that's why I was just wondering, is that really safe for our town? Because I heard some other places they did do that, and that they end up getting like shot at and stuff like that just randomly. So I'm not sure if that's really safe for the city.
Well, I think we can answer those questions after we close the public hearing. The
Okay.
vacation is very difficult to understand,
Mhm.
and it's a little different than vacation homes. This is
Oh, okay.
vacating a road.
Oh, okay.
So we'll explain more later.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else like to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
My name is Martin Carrion. I'm in the middle of the road on this, but I want to make sure that the city's checked all the avenues before they give the easement away. Make sure that they have all their conduits in place, that they could save a lot of money for future development, like telecom, Edison, anything that would help the city, water, pipes, hydrants, and stuff like that. should check all the aspects to make sure before you give up that right of that road, since you have the right-of-way right now. That's the only comment I have.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else like to speak on this item tonight? All right, we'll close the public hearing at this time. Can we get an answer on the young lady's question over there? Could you explain what the vacation is? It's not exactly vacation homes, it's more vacating a road. Can you explain that a little more in
Yeah,
detail?
the term vacation means right now it's currently a public right-of-way. It's meant for use for public roads and for public utilities. The minute you vacate it is you remove that right, and it now becomes a lot, pretty much, essentially, where you can develop it. So vacation doesn't mean vacation homes, and in this term, it means vacating the actual, the rights that you have there, the public right-of-way that we have there.
And could you answer the gentleman's question that he had out here about the utilities?
Yes, and we did look into utilities that were existent, and we are definitely taking those into account, yes.
All right, it sounds like we got all the questions answered. At this time, I'll open it up to public, or to council member comments. Ms. Pye, you're first.
Councilmember Betts, I was confused about this also, but what we did last time was to announce this public hearing. And so that's why it came back to us.
Mr. Betts?
Okay, great. Yeah, I've been waiting to just take care of one simple condition. First thing is that I don't think anybody's going to miss this road. Just common sense. When you look at the map and you see, it's just not going to be missed. It's been blocked off for, I don't know, probably 15 years at least, with gates that were put across it. I don't know how that happened, but they are. And then when you weigh that against the future development and how this is going to tie in with that, well, the benefit of that far outweighs anybody be able to take a drive down this street. Knowing the person who's involved in this project, I don't want to upset any of the other spa owners, but if somebody asked me where was a good place to stay, one of the first names, usually the first name off my lips, was the Spring, and then of course moving on Del Morocco. But so
are you pandering to the crowd here?
Yeah, sorry, no, but we had an excellent operator there, so I'm sure that this one has more than a good chance of being everything that was mentioned as far as attracting new visitors. The only concern I have is that there are residents who have been looking at an ugly gate for a long time, and you have the curbs that go in and make it look like a street. Now, I don't know if this analogy works, but when Walt Disney was alive, if they took a ride out of service, it just didn't look like that ride was there anymore. They took it away. Walt's gone, and you go to Disneyland now, and you can still see remnants of the submarines that aren't there anymore. So you're there, and you go, oh, it looks like, the submarine ride, but it's not there anymore. And I think that we need to make this look like it was never a street. If the intent is to abandon it, I would like it to look like it's never a street, and maybe that's, doing some curb at, was it $6 a foot? So I don't know where we put that condition in on this, or if we can at this point. That's why I was asking staff. But I'd like it to be conditioned that how I can do this, once escrow closes or ownership changes hands, that one of the conditions be that maybe during the development stage that those barriers come down, some curb get put up, and that the neighbors who have put up with this ugly fence get some relief. And I imagine you drive by and probably thinking the same thing, you want to do that anyhow. So if I could get that condition on there, that it stops looking like a dead-end, blocked off street and looks like part of this parcel is what their intent is, I'd be happy. That's all I got as a condition. If they can get worked into a motion, great. If not, legal will let us know why.
Let's ask a question now. Can it legally, you can? I got a nod from the attorney.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right, move on to the next comments. Mr. Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to, again, commend the applicant and for this project, and I see great things happening up on that hill when this project is complete, and it'll be a seed that will be a renaissance that will bloom forever on our hillside up there when that is built and completed. So I am encouraging my fellow council members to support this. I'm not sure if we need to condition it, because once she does start that project, those lots will disappear, and it will be one big lot for the entire length of the way. So I don't see a need to force her to expend money at this point to remove those curbs, because once she does start developing all of that, then it will become one big lot between there and one big pie-shaped piece of property. And I'm very excited for this project, and I'm looking forward to attending the grand opening next year.
I'm also looking forward to this. I forgot to make a comment that a couple Thursdays ago, our staff, mainly our assistant city manager and our deputy city manager, along with our public works director, gave a presentation to the Rotary Club here in Desert Hot Springs about where the city's going, and some of the misnomers. And one of the biggest misnomers is that the marijuana industry has saved our city. Now, it's really helped, and it's put a lot of money in our coffers, but some of the top revenue producing line items for the city of Desert Hot Springs is TOT tax, which is transient tax. And a hotel like this builds on that. Each year it's been going up, I think 3 to 5% was the numbers that we've been giving, and that's important. A beautiful hotel that really doesn't have a lot of occupancy, built by someone who's done some fantastic work here in Desert Hot Springs. I can only imagine the revenue that we're going to see from that in tax revenue in the future. So I'm excited about it. I'm not sure if it needs to be conditioned. I don't mind if it is, because you're going to do it either way. So I don't think it really matters if we condition it or not at this point, because I believe you're going to take care of that issue right away. So if it makes Mr. Betts feel comfortable, I'm okay with it either way. And Mr. Betts, you're back in the queue.
Will make me feel real comfortable if at some point in time, when it fits into the development plans of this project, that we make sure that, 15 years from now, it still doesn't look like a street. So if we could just put that condition on when you come back for your, make a motion that what's the motion that we?
Adopt a resolution.
Adopt a resolution vacating Ortega Drive with the future condition that anything that looks like an entrance to a street be removed and made to look like it's a contiguous part of the property.
If you don't mind adding to your motion, as is written in the staff report, Ortega Drive between Alicio Road and Agua Cuando, not all of Ortega Drive. There is more portions of Ortega Drive in the city, but those will not be. Yeah, Ortega has other portions in our city, correct?
Not developed, no.
Okay,
But it's still good. You got the limits correct. Eliseo Road and Agua Cayendo Road.
Isn't there an Ortega that, doesn't the road split off in the, closer to Palm Drive, Ortega?
There might be one there. You're correct.
I think there's a small cul-de-sac that Ortega, I'm just, maybe, I could be wrong, but I just want to make sure
Well, I'm
it's just that,
certainly not,
that
the
portion
motion
of the road.
certainly isn't to give her the entire length of Ortega Drive wherever it may go, but just thank you for correcting me on that. So that would be the motion.
There's a motion and a second on the board. Is there any other discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Members, thank you.
And item number 9 is on that agenda item is to direct the city clerk to record the resolution. Do you need a vote on that separately, or is that part of the resolution? During the public hearing, I follow the numbers here. It says direct the city clerk to record the resolution. Do we need to vote on that? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 9, which is AB 1600, annual report, development impact fees, and resolution making findings and reaffirming the necessity of certain development impact fees. Mr. Buckheim.
Thank you. So the city is required to complete an annual AB 1600 report for all development fees it collected and expended during the fiscal year. There are 8 separate development fees collected for improvements in parklands, fire services, streets, traffic and bridges, law enforcement services, general facilities, community centers, aquatics, and storm drainage. For the fiscal year 18-19, the city collected $1,523,922 in developer fees and expended $1,378,804 on various projects, improvements, and equipment per the master's facility plan. Also, as part of Government Code Section 66000, the city must make a finding for any unspent revenues being held for future projects over a 5-year period. the city has identified two funds, the fire suppression and the storm drain facility funds, as having funds being held over the 5-year period and have met the findings necessary to move forward with future projects as stated in the report. The accumulated fund balance at the end of the fiscal year 18-19 for all the development impact funds is $3,795,042. This report was placed at the community development counter for the required number of days prior to this meeting for public to review, and a copy of this report was sent to the Desert Valley Builders Association for their review, which a copy of their letter is included in this report. Staff is recommending the city adopt a resolution of the City Council to make findings and reaffirm the necessity of certain development impact fees, as well as the AB 1600 report. And this concludes my staff report.
Entertaining questions for staff, Mr. Betts?
Yeah, I received some contacts, emails on this. People wondering if we were raising the diff fees, and that's not the case. We're just making an annual report as we're supposed to on the amounts involved.
Yes, that is correct. We are not raising. This is just an annual report of what was earned and what was spent. We are not at this point raising any fees.
Okay, great. Thank you. So it's basically an annual procedural matter.
Yes.
We'll open the public hearing this time. Anybody would like to speak in testimony in favor of this? Anybody in opposition of this report being filed? Mr. Dickerson, just state your name and you begin.
Yes, Kenny Dickerson, Coachillan Holdings. In Exhibit 2, AB 1600 Report Resolution 2018-2019, I'm showing your proposed resolution to adopt the AB 1600 report as written. In particular, Section 4, Basis for Findings, states that the above referenced findings are based on information provided in Chapter 17.144 of the Desert Hot Springs Municipal Code, the AB 1600 report, the Master Facilities Plan, and the city's adopted annual operating budget currently on file with City Clerk. My concern for staff and City Council is that the date/year of the Master Facilities Plan referenced in Section 4 has been specifically and intentionally omitted. Note, the Master Facilities Plan was generated in 2008. This is known because the Master Facilities Plan is associated with the 2008 Nexus Report, which specifies diff fees. My question to staff and City Council is, why does the resolution omit the date of the Master Facilities Plan? I object to the resolution if staff and/or City Council refuses to amend by adding the date of the Master Facilities Plan. Will staff or City Council make this change to this resolution? Number 2, in Exhibit 4, the letter from Desert Valley Builders Association, I'm showing the DVBA mentioned, quote, inappropriate uses of Mitigation Fee Act funds, unquote. Following their review of the city's AB 1600 annual report on diff fees for the period ending June 30th, 2019. In particular, the letter states, quote, during the course of our review, we came across expenditures that appeared to be inappropriate uses of Mitigation Fee Act funds, unquote. I am very concerned that the staff report and none of the publicly disclosed exhibits made any mention of these, quote, inappropriate uses of funds, unquote, whatsoever, as expressed by DVBA's reviews and findings. Additionally, the letter also states, after several discussions with the Finance Department, it was determined that those expenditures needed to be funded by, quote, other sources. What were the other sources that should have been used to fund these expenditures? Why has none of this been disclosed in the staff report or addressed by the resolution City Council is voting on tonight?
Any other comments opposed to this item? No No one standing. I'll take testimony for those in neutral position who would like to make a comment on this item. No one else coming forth. I will close the public hearing at this time. And Mr. Buckheim, do you have anything else you'd like to add to the comments that have been made?
Yeah, so we actually work with the Desert Valley Builders Association, and some of the expenses they felt were inappropriate. Some that we actually are appropriate, as according to our master facilities plan. There were also some expenditures we agreed on. We had both agreed on that will be funded by other funds than the TIF fees, so they were covered by the general fund, and the TIF fees were then reimbursed for. So we had a long discussion with the Desert Valley Builders Association, and we worked out a comparable plan.
All right. Any other comments by staff? Okay, we'll move to council member comments. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, just addressing a couple of the concerns, Mr. Dickerson. The Desert Valley Builders Association isn't the final adjudicator on this matter, and apparently we have worked, I would say, closely with them, and in the past at odds with them, at least in the to the extent that they went with a magnifying glass over the last time we went through this. What was it, 2010, I believe? And they held it up for quite a while as we worked through. So, and it sounds like what there's been is some sort of a reconciliation. Maybe they found something that they disagreed with. Staff looks at it, as would be normal in an accounting situation, and said, no, unless I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, yeah, we agree, maybe that one needs to be fixed. And so they've made some type of adjustment on the books to account for that, taking money from other funds, and it all comes out in the wash. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so none of that would be germane to the action that we're taking here today, at least as far as this goes, but there may be some future financial reporting the board or the council should get if there's anything there that would explain that, so that we know what's going on with that. I mean, we trust that there's some type of reconciliation that took place. It sounds like everybody agrees there was, and so maybe we get those details. That would be good. I don't necessarily agree that that needed to be contained in this staff report. Now, on the second point regarding the 2008 master facility plan and referencing that in the resolution, I don't see anything wrong with additional specificity if it's referencing a master facilities plan. And we ought to know which one it is. If there's only one, is there more than one master facility plan? And is the master facility plan dated 2008, and we're not just doing this to any future master facility plan? So I can't see any reason why we wouldn't put in the date to make it more specific.
With respect to the master's facility plan, I'd have to defer to Danny Porras with respect to the last date. I believe it was 2008, but I would be guessing. I would refer to Danny on that.
Okay, I don't have the date, but sounds about accurate.
So whatever.
Yes. The last master facilities plan was October 2008.
Okay, so this is all tied to something that is, this is it, what it is, and so I can't see any problem. That seems like a legitimate request to me, so if there's a time for a motion to be made, that I would, what are we supposed to be doing here on this one? I gotta get the staff report so I know the motion that's to be made.
I have nobody else in the queue, so if you wanted to go ahead and make a motion, there's a review and accept the AB 16 annual report, and then there's adopt a resolution.
And making sure that the 2008 master facilities plan is referenced as the master facilities plan that is.
That's what you want to add into your motion. We could do that.
Yep, that's it.
So you'll be. I'm sorry, Ms. Pye. You want it back? You want it in?
So that would just be identifying specifically what master facility plan is referred to.
So you'll be accepting staff recommendation, which is a review and accept of AB 1600 annual report, and then adopting a resolution of City Council making findings and reaffirming the necessity of the certain development impact fees, with the addition of the date of the master facilities planning resolution.
That would be good.
All right, go ahead and press make a motion. Is there a second? And anybody else want to say anything? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Ms. Pye needs to register her vote. Go ahead.
You can do a vote.
Somehow she got off the dais. Go ahead and verbally register your vote. No, just say yes or no into the mic.
Thank you.
And now you can announce, Mr. City Clerk.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Administrative calendar is item number 10. It's audited financial statement and housing compliance report for fiscal year 2018-2019. Mr. Buckheim?
Yes, thank you. So the city has completed its independent audit of the 2018-2019 fiscal report and housing compliant, which is included as part of your packet. Francis Kuo, from a partner with the Poon Group, is here to make a presentation to the City Council and the public on the findings of the audit.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and the Member of Council. So tonight I have the presentation to present the audit that's been conducted for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2019. So our team came out here back in June timeframe, started the field work, and then completed audit and issued the report in November of 2019. So tonight the presentation is going to go through some of the scope of the work, the audit responsibility, some of the high-level review of the financial statement amount, and go over pension information, and of course the audit result. So the Director of Finance mentioned about the scope of work include the audit of the financial statement, the housing compliance audit, and also the agreed upon procedure performed for the fiscal year 1920 appropriation limit. So the responsibility, besides us as auditor coming for the audit, of course, the management also has a responsibility as management. So ultimately, they are responsible for the fair presentation of the financial statement, making sure there's a proper internal control over the financial reporting, have policy and procedure in place, and then make sure the policy and procedure are there to prevent and detect fraud. And most importantly, is to make sure the fair presentation of the financial statement. And as auditors ourselves, we are here to conduct an audit in accordance with the standards. And in doing so, we need to assess the risk of internal control and then also assess the risk of material misstatement. So that's why when we came in here for audit during April timeframe, during interim field, we'll go through planning, we'll go through internal control evaluation, go through different transaction cycle, and then bring us back here sometime in September and to validate all the account balances, and then also take a look at the housing compliance in order for us to issue audit opinion. So a couple high-level review of the financial statement. So for the year ended 2019, the city ended with a net position for the governmental activity. So that's all the activity of the city, excluding the Health and Wellness Foundation. So the city ended the net position of $40 million in comparison to 2018 at $36 million. And in the net position, which is the equity of the city, so you take the balance sheet for any business enterprise, so you have the balance sheet, you have the asset minus the liability, so that's the equity. And then within the equity section, about 36 million are invested in the capital asset, and about 15 million are the restricted balances from the different outside restriction, like the gas tax and then some of the grant funding. So the remaining balance is a $10 million unrestricted deficit. And included in the deficit is actually $11 million net pension liability. So without the net pension liability, it's actually ended the year with a $1.2 million of net position. And that net pension liability is a long-term liability that eventually the city has to pay in the long term for the remaining service life of the active the retirees. And in this slide is about the cost of service of the city. So the cost of the service of the city are the program that's offered by the city, and then the expenses, and then net of the revenue. So that's the cost of service. So for 2019, the cost of service is at $10 million, and then the general revenue are the non-restricted tax revenue and some of the investment earning that the city had earned during the year. So net with that, plus some of the transfer, so the city has an increase of the net position of $4 million in 2019 compared to just about $800,000 in 2018. So one of the ratio that we look at when we're doing an audit is we look at the comparison of the cost of service compared to the tax revenue. If the city's cost is too high, it will not be able to support by the tax revenue. So when you look at the comparison of 2018 compared to 2019, the cost of service to tax revenue actually decreased from 103% to 77%. So that's a decrease in the ratio in 2019. And the business type activity is mainly on the Health and Wellness Foundation. So in comparison, both year, it's about $7 million of a net position. And if you look at the operation of the Health and Wellness Foundation, it's actually very comparable. So most of the foundation operation is supported by the city's general fund. So one of the key area that we look at during the audit is to look at the general fund. So when we look at general fund, we compare that and combine with the public safety special revenue fund because the operation of a big portion of the operation is supported by the general fund. So when the two funds combine, for 2019, the city general fund with the public safety fund actually has $11.4 million of fund balance at the end of the year. So with that $11.4 million fund balance, about 100,000 is now spendable because those are the prepaid items that you cannot spend because it's already been prepaid. And then with the rest, it's about over $10 million in the committed and the assigned fund balance. So the committed fund balance are actually the committed fund balance from the marijuana tax revenue that's been set aside for emergency reserve. So when comparing to 2018, the reserve is for the emergency reserve is at $600,000 and it grew to $1.3 million in 2019. So the city's general fund balance increased from $9 million to $11.4 million in 2019. So this is the income statement of the general fund again. So you can see the revenue minus the expenses compared to 2019 to 2018 is $2.9 million compared to $600,000 in 2018. And then the net transfer between the general fund and the public safety fund is a net transfer out of $500,000 in 2019 compared to $100,000. So the city increased $2.4 million to the general fund in 2019. So here is a 5-year trend information looking at the general fund combined with the public safety fund. So starting from 2015, the city's general fund has about $4 million in fund balance. Over the 5-year time period, it grew from $4 million to the $11.4 million for the year ended June 30th, 2019. So that's an increase every single year for the general fund. So I mentioned about the pension. So a couple numbers to look at for pension. So this is a comparison of the net pension liability. The first one is on the miscellaneous plan. So that's a non-public safety, the miscellaneous employees. And then the net pension liability for both 2018 and 2019 are fairly comparable at over $3 million. And the funding rate, the funded ratio is about 70%. And the contribution made during a year are both about $400,000 to $500,000 each year. And for the safety plan, the net pension liability is also about the same, $8 million for 2018 and 2019. The funding ratio is also about at 70%. And the contribution made was about $1 million for 2019 and $800,000 for 2018. So these are a couple highlighted numbers for the financial statement for 2019. And then that brings us to the result for the audit. So for the 2019 audit, we issue a modified opinion, which means this is the highest opinion that the audited financial statement can get. And then that means, the accounting policy and then the estimate are reasonable, and then the disclosure are properly reflected in the financial statement. And we also don't have any disagreement with management on whether the accounting treatment or on our audit process. And then we didn't report any material weakness in internal control, both in financial reporting and also on the compliance of the housing compliance. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm glad to answer any question that you may have.
At this time, I'll open up to public comments before you just stay close. Is there anybody like to make any comments on this? Yes, sir, you can come forth. I'm going to have this gentleman give his public comments first, and then I'll bring you up for questions from the council.
My name is Martin Carrion. I negotiated 2 labor contracts. My concern is, have we staggered our labor contracts with the public employees and the police unions? And the liability, the city of Los Angeles entered to a 401k plan for the new employees coming into the city. I'm just wondering if that's being considered down the road, because the liability of pensions is going to overrun the budgetary amount of money that's coming into the city down the road. And I hate to see this become an issue 10 years down the road there, where the city has to BK just to get out of their liabilities to the employees' pension plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this item? Close public comments this time, and we'll have you come back up. Any questions from Mr. Pai?
No, he can answer that first.
Once you come on up, you can answer a question from the public, and then I'm going to have Ms. Pai ask a question next. Did you have any answer to the public comment there? Anyone? Mr. Buckheim, anyone?
My understanding is for the employees, they are not staggered. Their MOU agreements go from July 1st to June 30th for each of the public safety and the represented employees.
All right, Ms. Pai.
I don't have a question for you. You could
Okay.
I do have others in the queue, so just stay close. Go ahead.
You want him to go?
No.
I just wanted to say we're doing we got A++. Am I saying it right? Rating. We have revenue more than we've had before in the city. However, this does not mean that we can spend money any way we want. We still need police officers. We still need infrastructure. We still need new staff. But what we're doing, we're working in the right place to do what we need to do for everybody. And that's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Betts?
Thank you. Just want to point out for everybody, it was the PUN group that was here and pointed out for us way back when some troubling news when a prior auditor somehow managed to not reveal that information to us. That set us off on a path to writing the finances of the city. That was a pretty painful time for those who don't remember what we went through or weren't here. But this report here should be good news to everybody. And I was looking with a very watchful eye to see some signs of problem. And I mentioned earlier in the evening about pensions, and you can see here that we've got about an $11 million pension liability, which we need to be concerned about. But the picture now is very good. The city's, if you look at the executive notes, $11 million in reserves. At one time, we had $5 million in reserves when we ran into trouble, and that evaporated really quickly. And then we got to the point where it was just dire straits around here. And and then you look at, just all the indicators here. I wish I had your screen up there, but you went through it, and I just hope everybody paid attention to each one of those screens, because each one that she put up, which was a summary of what we have here in a much more detailed report, was good news. Here you've got, we don't need to go through all this again, but the next one. There we go. There's the picture you want to look at, okay? The reserves is now 11.4 million, and it means that we are not in financial trouble. And as far as the pension goes, while the amount that we have in balance matches almost exactly the pension liability, It doesn't mean we have to go cough up $11 million right away to cover that, but it's something we need to adjust for. I think coming in the future, they're saying that CalPERS is going to be coming back to everybody with a doubling of their pension obligation. And, you know, there's another city of similar size, I forget the name, I was looking at it, their pension liability is $4.5 million in the same period that ours is totaling 1.9?
The payment or the liability?
The
net pension-
payment.
The payment, I think, total is at, let's see. I think for the miscellaneous, it's about 500,000 in 2019, and then it's about 900,000 for the safety, so combined 1.4 million.
So 1.4 compared to other cities that are paying 4.5. And everybody's starting to look at this issue. There was another city I heard about when I was up at League of California Cities. I talked to a accounting firm, and they advise on pensions specifically. And they said, well, the city was feeling very good because they took an extra $5 million and put it into their pension liability fund, and that firm said that when they went and looked at everything, and they told them, well, you just barely got yourself caught up. You've got a huge liability down the road. And so something's got to get fixed. We've got to be on the lookout for it. I would like to see Michael Bush come by here and give us the forward look on that. Our auditors give us a present look. They affirm and attest that the numbers that we're looking at here are accurate and correct, and that we can trust them, which is a very good thing. It's very important to be able to trust the numbers you're getting. We saw what happened when we were getting funny numbers, and but we need to look at this future going forward, so that this continues. The economy at some point in time will take a downturn. So if we were supposed to have Michael Bush come in periodically. If we could get him scheduled for a future agenda, it's not an emergency, but maybe shortly after the first of the year, have him come specifically for so the council's aware of the pension liabilities going forward, and then we could take that into account with the budgeting that's coming up. We're going to do another 2-year budget. Is that where the plan is? So, which seems to have worked out. I wasn't in favor of that, but it seems to have worked out well. I mean, you can't argue with the numbers. So, and then the comment on the 401k, I think when I first got on the council, I had suggested we shift everything over to the 401k. I didn't get any traction on that one. I don't know where that will go with new hires and the plan. It's a good suggestion. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but I like that idea. So anyhow, I think it's just, for those who've been around and watched this process, and seen where we've been in the past and where we are now, I think everybody, my assessment is that we can feel good, and I think Councilwoman Pai is correct. This ain't a time to go spending hog wild and just think that everything's great, and I don't think staff has that sense. Every time I talk to them, they're saying, yeah, well, we spent some money on something, but in the same breath, but we're watching the money closely to make sure it fits the plan. So, and we certainly don't have any alarms. If there was something wrong, you would have told us, right?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. I mean, your firm did it once
You'll be in
before,
the
right?
report.
Yeah, so they did it before. I think we can trust them this time. So I'm really happy to see this type of report. This is very pleasant news.
Ms. Pai.
I just wanted to thank staff. We set policy, and they do what we ask them to do. I want to thank Linda Kelly for a smooth transition with Mr. Buchanan.
Buckheim.
Pardon me?
Buckheim. You said Buchanan.
Jeffrey.
Buckheim.
Jeffrey's good.
And I want to thank Ms. Kelly for doing that with you, and for you paying attention, because she told me she was worried about that, but it came across okay. And if anyone wants to not read all of the audit report, I would suggest that you read Jeffrey's management report, because that's all of the highlights, and they're very good. That's all.
I also want to take a minute and commend everybody in the staff, and I really want to commend the Poon Group for taking your presentation from about 40 slides down to 20 slides. Thank you very much. As I'm not a huge numbers guy when it comes to audits and stuff, but we have to do this each year. It is very important, because if you look back to 2015, We had $3.9 million in fund balance. That's what we need to start our year because we don't receive our property tax until approximately late August, September. And for the city to survive, you need to have those reserves so that you can get your year started. We have a fiscal year, so we start our year in July, and it's so important. Our financial staff has been really doing a fantastic job. Mr. Buckheim, please commend all of them. It's always nice to see continuity in your staff, and that's what I think this and the former council have strived for, is making sure that our staff and our city managers understood what we wanted 3 years ago, is making sure the continuity is there so that I'm losing the words here, but the institutional knowledge is there, is what I'm trying to say, because it's very important for the future. If you look at very successful cities in the state of California and around the country, they're successful because it doesn't matter who's sitting here. It's the efforts that are made by the staff to make sure that those policies are adhered to over time. As Mr. Betts alluded to, about 5 years ago, we made some huge cuts and set some policies to get to where we are today. So commend to all of you. Any other questions? This is a receive and file. I see no one else in the queue. Thank you for your time tonight. You can now go home. I know you've been here all day. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 11, which is the approval of the parcel map number 37606 for Moreland California Properties LLC and the acceptance of dedication of easements for street and public utilities purposes. Mr. Porras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Parcel map 37606 is located on the northeast corner of Calle de los Ramos and 19th Avenue. It's about 1/2 mile east of Indian Canyon Drive. The parcel map subdivides one parcel into 3 parcels. The first 18-acre parcel will be subdivided into one parcel of 4 acres, the second parcel of 10 acres, and a third parcel of 3 acres. The applicant plans to subdivide the lots for finance and conveyance purposes. There are no approved projects for this site at this time. On March 12, 2019, the Planning Commission approved tentative parcel map 37606, subject to a number of conditions of approval listed and shown in Exhibit 2. The property owner is dedicating roadway easements for streets and public utility purposes that include 44 feet along the north side of 19th Avenue and 39 feet along the east side of Calle de los Ramos, as shown on the map. Staff is recommending City Council find that parcel map 37606 is in substantial conformance with the previously approved tentative map. The Council approved parcel map 37606 in accordance with the conditions of approval. Council accept the dedication of easements offered on the map for streets and public utility purposes. Council authorize the City Clerk and the City Engineer to sign the map, evidencing the City Council's approval. And Council authorize staff to process and file the map with the County Recorder's Office. That concludes my staff report, and we have our project engineers here if they have any questions. Thank you.
Would anybody like to make public comment at this time? See no one coming forth. We will entertain questions, which Mr. Betts, you're in the queue.
Yeah, sorry. The applicant, who is the applicant?
Moreland California Properties LLC.
And is that, maybe I missed it. It's here on the, I didn't see it in the staff summary here. I see just the word the applicant.
Yeah, it's on the title. It's Moreland California Properties LLC.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good. Well, my little Post-it note was covering it, so good. All right, I'm glad you didn't miss that. Thanks. The other thing I can't tell is where this is. You ever hear the saying, looking at the, can't see the forest for the trees? I don't know if that applies, but I'm looking at a very detailed shot of...
This is just west of the Cochillan project. Just east, I'm sorry, the Cochillan project.
East.
Right. If you follow 19th Street, you pass the Cochillan project, it's right on the northeast corner.
And why are they subdividing these?
One parcel into 3.
Is there any problem with that for us?
Nope. It's just a subdivision, plain simple subdivision.
Okay.
In the future, they probably have plans to do projects maybe in 3 different lots, which they're entitled to come in and apply for entitlements and move on with the project.
Okay, if I could make a request only that when we do these presentations that we get a map that shows some type of proximity relation to the city. I'm having a hard time finding out exactly where this was. I guess I could have gone and Google mapped it myself. I didn't. But if we could get something that would show, you know, a 2-mile radius and the main streets, that would help. I wasn't exactly sure where Cali de los Romas is. Kind of like Ortega Drive runs through somewhere. And this one probably runs through open desert, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So, okay, and I'd appreciate that, thanks.
I have nobody else in the queue. There is 5 recommendations from staff. I'll entertain a motion.
I move staff's recommendation.
Comments, please vote.
Running out of yellow tabs.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Item number 12 is grocery outlet traffic signal fair share agreement. Mr. Forrest.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Hold on one second. I'm sorry.
I need to recuse myself. This was before the planning commission.
Okay. When Mr. Griffith is off the dais, you can begin, Mr. Forrest. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item is regarding the grocery outlet project, which is located on the northwest corner of Palm Drive and Park Lane. The project currently includes a 20,000 square foot grocery store with associated parking, lighting, landscaping, and site improvements. You have some conceptual plans shown in Exhibit 1. The project also includes the widening of Palm Drive to its ultimate width of 55 feet of right-of-way from centerline along the property frontage, a southbound right turn pocket, bike lane merge and transition lanes, new striping, and a new traffic signal with associated intersection improvements on Palm and Park Lane. During the review process, the project was found to result in an increase in traffic, in which the installation of traffic signal would be required in order to address the impacts. In order to determine the amount of traffic associated with the project, the city retained K.D. Anderson, a consultant, to complete a traffic signal fair share analysis. The analysis concluded that the difference in vehicular traffic from the project would result in a 15% increase based on long-term cumulative traffic volumes. Per condition of approval number 88, the applicant has agreed to enter into a fair share agreement with the city to pay the 50% of fair share costs for the installation of traffic signal. If the agreement is approved by council, the city would be the lead agency on the project and move forward with the installation of traffic signal at the subject intersection and will invoice the applicant 15% of the associated costs. The costs are currently estimated at $360,242.14, which will lead to the applicant be required to pay 15%, which is estimated at $54,036.32. The final amount will be based on actual construction costs contracted through the city's formal bidding procedures. Staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute the agreement of payment of fair share of development impact fees by and between the City of Desert Hot Springs and Best Development Group, LLC, for the installation of a new traffic signal at intersection of Palm Drive and Park Lane. You have some renderings, and you also have the draft agreement and the conditions of approval of the project. And I'll gladly answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Would anybody in the public like to make comment on this item? Please come forward, state your name. This is an administrative calendar item, so you will be limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Chandra Garin. I was just wondering, how come you guys don't just reuse the Kmart shopping area instead of, renovating that desert area? Were you guys thinking of putting a grocery outlet right there in the Kmart building?
You're more welcome to ask the question. We can't answer them
Oh,
until
okay.
after the public comments are done.
Yeah, that's my question. I was
Thank
just
you very
wondering.
much. I'll get it
Thank you.
answered for you. Any other public comments to this item? All right, we'll close public comments this time. Ms. Porras, can you answer their question for?
Yeah, this is a private development for grocery outlet. It is on the west side of Palm Drive, on the northwest corner of Palm Drive and Park Lane. It's a completely separate project from the Kmart Shopping Center or any other project. Yeah, the developers are coming in and they are planning on building a ground-up construction of the grocery store at that location.
And any other questions, Mr. Betts?
Yeah, just a quick comment. You wouldn't be the first one to have asked, well, why aren't they going into the Kmart shopping center? But it's, the point here is that, and I think a lot of people have the misconception that the council decides what goes in and where, as far as initiating a developer coming in. This store wants to come in with a standalone store in their own branded property, and they've picked this property, and, we can't tell them, no, go somewhere else. That's where they want to be, I guess, is the long and the short of it. Can I make a motion, Mr. Mayor?
I have nobody else in the queue. Please do.
motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement for the payment of fair share of development impact fees by and between the City of Desert Hot Springs and Best Development Group LLC for fair share cost of the installation of a new traffic signal at the intersection of Palm Drive and Park Lane. And is anything else the staff recommended in this?
There is a motion and a second. No other comments, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We'll wait for Mr. Griffith to get back here. He comes back on the dais. We'll announce item number 13, which is the purchase of 20 new kennel doors and side panels for animal care and control facilities. Our police chief, Jim Henson.
Mayor, members of the council, the animal care and control facility was refurbished in 2018. However, the kennel doors were not replaced. Since the reopening, the kennel doors have been continuously rusting, and when the kennel doors are opened and closed, the floor is damaged. Numerous attempts to fix the doors have been made, but based on the length of time and the amount of rust found on the kennel doors, no further repairs can be done. For the safety of the animals as well as the staff, the kennel doors need to be replaced. As mentioned above, the kennel doors are inadequate for housing animals. They are rusting and sagging, which has caused the floors to be scratched. Part of the doors also use chain link, which the dogs can pull and create holes. There are gaps between the doors, which allow animals to stick their paws out. Finally, the door latches can be pushed out, which has allowed dogs to escape the kennels. The proposed doors would solve the above issue. Animal care and control staff reached out to 3 companies, Mason Company, Shoreline, and Direct Animal Products. Below are the quotes that were received. Mason Company, their total was $44,154.95. Shoreline was $60,377.19, and Direct Animal Products was $60,790. Only one company, Shoreline, came out to Animal Care and Control to inspect the facility and see what the job entails. The other 2 companies solely went off measurements given to them by our staff. For their quoted price, Shoreline stated that they would remove the existing doors, supply the kennel doors, as well as install the doors. It is my recommendation that the job be given to Shoreline based on their knowledge of the facility and the work that needs to be done. This concludes my staff report.
Open for public comments. Would anybody like to make comments to this item at this time? See nobody coming forth. We'll open up to council comments. I see nobody in the queue. And let me guess, Mr. Betts.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I want to, first off, I want to compliment staff on an excellent presentation here. We've got all 3 bids. We've got the details. We've got good, clear explanation. And anytime I see it, any board or commissioner I serve where I see something going out to bid and somebody doesn't include all the significant bidders, well, the first thing you do is everybody says, hey, where's the other bids? We want to see them. So we've got a good, complete packet here. And from my understanding, doing a little research on this, we've picked the top 3 companies in the nation that do this type of work. They're all very reputable, good companies. So, sometimes you wonder, well, did we miss somebody out there? So then to the heart of the matter is, we got 2 bids that came in at $60,000 and one that came in at $44,000. And it is very routine when you see that kind of difference, one low bidder, to say, well, what the heck's going on here? What are we missing? The low bid looks great, but is that really what we want to accept? So I had some time today, so I made a few calls. I talked to the bidders, and I find out Mason Company, the low bidder, I want to find out specifically, are they qualified to do the work? And they're a 125-year-old company out of Ohio. I find out that I asked him, well, why'd you come in so much lower? And he says, well, we've been doing business against Shoreline for a long time. We know them. They're a good company. And he spoke highly of all 3 of the companies. So they just got very aggressive and really wanted to pick a job off from them. For whatever reasons, competitive reasons, he wanted the work. And then he pointed out that, he knows his competitor well. Shoreline will use a subcontractor, according to him, to install the gates. And while they did come out and look at them, they will use a subcontractor. and Mason will actually send their employees out as part of their company to do this. All Mason does is this type of work, dog kennels. They don't do any other side work. This is it. They do, stuff servicing this type of industry. That's their gig. And so he said, if you look at the installation price, you'll see that we're higher by a little bit more, and that's because they're using their own employees to come out and do the installation and not a subcontractor. And the question comes up, as staff pointed out, well, did we, the only one company came out to look at it. And I said, well, why didn't you come out and look at it? He says, well, what we'll do, since we're manufacturing these ourselves, we're not subbing this out anywhere, is we'll send a crew out before we start work on this. We'll size everything up, measure everything up, and get the specs we need and go back and build it. So they didn't feel a look now for the bid was necessary. They said it's critical to have the look before they actually start doing the work and the construction, and so they just didn't throw that in there. So in my mind, you've got 3 qualified bidders, and in this point in time, taking the lowest qualified bid would be to go with the Mason Company. And I can certainly appreciate the concern that if somebody hasn't come out and looked at the job, that you would wonder why that happened, but you had 2 that didn't and 1 that did. I'm satisfied that we've got 3 qualified bidders, very good bidders, and that we would do well to save $16,000, and we're not going to suffer from it. I think you can put conditions in the contract that guard you. Do we have a contingency in this contract? Normally we have a contingency, right? I didn't see any contingency in this one. It's just for $60,000, that's it?
Yeah, what I would like to point out, and you had the conversation I didn't with the company that you're talking about. When you talked to the Mason Company, did they say they were going to be removing the existing kennels? Because that's quite a bit of work, and Shoreline will remove. If you look on their quote, it says installation including removing the existing kennels would be $12,500, which is actually cheaper. They need to grind out the existing posts and fill with concrete. They'll also put the epoxy afterwards. So that may be part of the difference, because that would leave Public Works having to remove the existing kennels, and that's going to create. I'm sorry.
When we put this out to bid, did we specify remove and replace, or just remove, or just replace?
I'm sorry, ask your question again, sir.
Did we, when we put it out to bid, did we specify remove, dispose of, and replace?
I believe that was the conversation that staff had when they asked for a quote, when they had the conversations with them.
Okay, so I'm presuming that they're going to. So anyhow, I don't want to belabor the point. I can certainly appreciate the, it's not unreasonable, the position that staff's taken to go with somebody who actually came out and looked at it. And if I hadn't had time today to call and talk to them and get confidence that this 125-year-old company knows what they're doing, I would be inclined to go with that. But right now, my preference would be to go with the qualified lowest bidder and save $16,000.
Thank you for your comments. I'm just going to make a few comments based on that. I appreciate the work that you did today on this, but I think there's some things missing. Mr. Chief Henson, I think you did a fantastic job, and make sure staff made sure they covered the whole basis. I've managed a resort, and we did a lot of capital expenditures the last couple of years or last year, and I never awarded a contract to anyone that did not come out and look at the job, because it just seemed like contractors that looked at the job could actually see what needed to be done. And I think this is a prime example of that, when they came out and said that we're going to have to remove these, and this is the cost of that, and added that in the bid. So I would go with staff recommendation on this. I think it's thorough and complete. Mr. Griffith?
I have to concur on that line. The question I would ask is, if a company says they're willing to send their employees out to do all the work, why are they not willing to send an employee out to actually give us an actual bid? Anyone who's done any kind of home remodeling knows once you start that, you're going to usually run into a problem. To say this is what I'm going to do, and then we'll measure it once we get there, is not reassuring to me. I want someone that's going to come out, take a look at it, do the measurements, and knows exactly what they're getting, and come out and get the bid. So I understand there's a $16,000 difference, but I feel more comfortable with someone that's actually willing to come there up front, take a look, and be honest with me. So that's just my opinion.
Just quickly to rebut that, it's a block structure. They're going to come out. They'll take all that into account, whatever they would see. But I understand this vote might go the different way. So, Mr. Mayor, call the question if it's your preference.
I have nobody else in the queue, so at this time, do we have any public comment on this? Did I already ask that? I remember I did. Anybody want to make public comment on this? If I had, okay. We'll move on to, I'll entertain a motion. Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Betts opposed.
I do have a request for a restroom break. We have 2 items left. Do we want to push through, or is there more that you need to have a restroom break? All right, we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break. Please make it 5 minutes. We have 2 items left, and I'd like to get back to the dice. Well, I do need it. I'd like to go home. Paging Mr. Betts, paging Mr. Betts. Back to the dais, Mr. Betts. I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to do that like in a Sears or a Kmart or something. It's okay. We'll make it through without him. He's got the deputy and the assistant, so we're good. Yeah. So item number 14, we're going to re-adjourn. Item number 14, re-adjourn? Convene, and that'd be better than re-adjourning, huh? We'll reconvene. Item number 14 is the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program, the fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Mr. Porras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Each year, the city receives entitlement allocation of the Community Development Block Grants, or referred to as CDBG funding, from U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The city's 2020-2021 CDBG allocations is estimated at $247,000, and the majority of these funds must be spent on capital projects such as housing, public facility improvements, or eligible public works projects. In 2013, City Council approved a Parks Master Plan. In the plan, there were several recommendations presented to effectively meet the current and future needs of the community. To address these needs, staff is recommending that City Council consider utilizing the allocated 2020-2021 CDBG funds for the rehabilitation of Hot Springs Park into Reflection Park. The Reflection Park project will transform the existing park into a more functional park that can be used for walking, relaxation, and reflection. The Hot Springs Park is currently located in a 0.44 acre lot. The Reflection Park project will transform the entire lot and provide transition into existing surrounding infrastructure. The Reflection Park project will include the removal of a water fountain, the installation of date palm trees, a walking pathway, benches and shade areas, new landscaping, and state-of-the-art lighting. On your staff report's rendering and additional renderings are shown on your exhibit. Staff is recommending City Council approve the rehabilitation of Hot Springs Park into Reflection Park, and 2, adopt a resolution of the City Council authorizing participation in and authorizing the city manager to approve all agreements necessary, documents associated with the Community Development Block Grant for fiscal year 2020-2021. That concludes my staff report. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Is there any public comments? All right, move on to questions from council. Mr. Betts.
Yeah, quick. I'm not an architect, but I play one at city council meetings. So I'm looking at this picture, which I understand is just a quick rendering. It's not the final design. And I'm just thinking, when you got a small parcel there, if you have what catches your eye is back further, the park looks bigger. If your main feature is right up to the road, that's all you see is what's up to the road, and everything else behind becomes nothingness. Now, so that would be my first comment, is that it be view-centric towards the back of the parcel when you come up with a design. You're going to present some designs to the council to look at? Or are you guys just going to do all this on your own?
Have you liked what I've done so far?
Well, I would like to see the design on this, but...
That is completely your call.
Okay. Anyhow, the other thing is now the existing water features are going to stay. They're not getting torn out, are they?
They will be removed.
You're going to remove all that
Correct.
$900,000 worth of rock work? And no, I know the hot springs, the little faucet coming.
It may have been $900,000 at one time. It's worth about $973 now. It's in very bad shape.
The boulders?
It's been destroyed. The boulders themselves may not be part of the landscape plan or design, but
We're just talking about the
all the
fountain in the
facility
corner.
stuff there is really in bad shape.
This is only the corner. So there's a fountain in a corner that has a
You're
back.
only talking about the fountain in the corner
Correct.
getting taken out.
That's
I got
it.
that.
Yeah.
What about further up the road?
That's not Hot Springs Park. That's the
Okay.
entrance to Miracle
We only
Springs.
have a very small sliver of that corner. The rest of it belongs to the Spa Hotel.
Got it. All
So
right. Okay.
that stuff up there you're talking about, that belongs to them.
Okay. All
But
right.
you know the walkways that they put in?
Mhm.
That'll integrate into the park.
Okay. And the other thing is, I wouldn't be so anxious to want to see the design if it looked like what you see down there at the, across from the convention center in Palm Springs. Have you taken a walk through there? It's beautiful. When you walk out of the convention center, they've got this beautiful park through there. And if that's what you're envisioning there, this will be a great addition to the city. Maybe you and I, when we have our Tuesday meeting, we can go have it down there and go take a walk in the park,
Okay.
get some exercise, huh?
Okay.
All right, thanks.
If nobody else in the queue, entertain a motion. Motion and second has been made. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 15 will be City and Successor Agency at this point. And this is the Recognized Obligation Payment Schedule, ROPS 2021, for the period of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2020. Mr. Buckheim.
Yes, thank you. So before you is the recognized obligation schedule for the 2021 fiscal year. This represents the annual obligations for the successor agency of the former redevelopment agency. The 2021 ROPS has estimated expenditures of $4,679,648, most of which is for debt service costs relating to the 2008 and 2017 bonds and the repayment of the SERAF loan back to the Housing Authority. All funding will come from the Property Tax Increment Trust Fund, and with the expected sale of the last remaining property of the former redevelopment agency to happen before June 30th, 2020, all costs associated with maintenance of the properties is being retired from ROPS 2021. There are now only 6 items remaining on the ROPS, which are the bank trustee fees, debt service for the 2008 bonds, principal and interest for the 2017 bonds, repayment of the SERAF loan to the Housing Authority, and the successor agency administration costs. After the ROPS is approved by the successor agency, it will go before the Riverside County Oversight Board for its January 16th meeting to be reviewed and approved. Once it's approved by the Oversight Board, it'll be sent to the State Department of Finance and the County Auditor Controller's Office by the required deadline of February 1st. So staff recommends the adoption of a resolution of the successor agency approving the recognized obligation schedule and administrative budget for the ROPS 2020. And available for any questions.
Any public comments? All right, no one standing coming forth. I see nobody on the queue. I'll entertain a motion. Please vote.
I just want you to know down at this end, Robert and I are having a contest to see if we can beat Gary to the punch on.
Motion passes. Motion passes.
Hold on a second. I
unanimously.
got to get it recorded. Mr. City Clerk,
Motion passes unanimously.
comment? A general comment or about this item? General comment? Please go ahead right now.
Ma'am, I didn't write down your name, but I wanted to tell you thank you very much for coming to the council. Thank you for asking questions, and that's what we want people to do, and I just want to let you know I appreciate it.
Future agenda items can be discussed with city manager. I don't believe anybody wants to make more public comments. I have no other blue cards. And with that, please enjoy your holidays. Remember, the city council is dark until the third Tuesday of January 2021. We will see you next year. Why did I say 2021? I just read that somewhere, didn't I? We are dark for a year and a half. Chuck just went, yes. 2020, and we'll be back in a few weeks. Enjoy your holidays. Be safe. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year.